Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, the largest crypto community in all the interwebs. My name is TJ, and I'll be your host for today's episode of Around the Blockchain. Every weekday, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we come to you with our favorite people and personalities to talk about today's trending crypto topics, as well as answer your most asked questions. Got a really good show set up for you guys today with some really good guests. We've got Justin from Hit Network, the resident bear here, the NFT director, joining us here today. Going to be talking about the realist perspective and sharing some of his insights and perspectives with us on how he's done so well in this space over the last few years, and turned a little bit of money into a lot of money. We've got Spencer Taring. You guys know him more affectionately as Vision, is what you guys call him in the chat. He's joining us here today, back in the UK, going to be giving us some insights into the regulation and some of the stuff going on over there. And in the bottom left, instead of the top right today, we've got Jebb back with us today. He's, going to be here sharing his perspectives as well. We were just talking, congratulations to him. He just found out he got his big play button, so that's very big congratulations to him. One of the other hardest working channels, been making videos for a really long time, so just huge shout out to him. And then Insane Crypto Posse in the top left corner with the bright shirt and the good colors, Ben Armstrong, BitBoy Crypto of this channel here. And as always, the links to all of these channels are in the description below, so follow those, give these guys a follow, subscribe to their channels, like their videos, give them the support. Everybody in the crypto. We were just talking. Oh shoot! I just started coming through double on Twitch over here, so I was hearing my own voice back about 30 seconds late. So
two TJs. I can't imagine a worse scenario.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna.
Might be me.
Oh, that was your echo coming through? Oh, okay. I was going to say, all of a sudden I started hearing myself. I was like, what is going on there?
I couldn't help it. I didn't want to leave you in the dirt there, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
I cringe just as much when I hear you. So.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But anyway, we're going to be talking, speaking of crazy antics, we're going to be talking about anti-crypto clowns today, some of the U.S. regulators and some of the statements they've come out and made. Pretty hilarious, some, like laughable at best. I mean, we're going to be talking about, is this something to be concerned about? Do we have regulators and people that are set up to help us as a nation, and where that's going to lead us, as well as comparison to some of the other ones? We're going to be looking at Bitcoin going mainstream, as well as Ethereum to a $2 trillion market cap. When will that happen? What will that look like? And when will we at least get back over to the previous all-time high? So we're not gonna do a market watch like we normally do today. The market's been choppy, trading pretty much sideways. We're more or less flat where we were yesterday, down just a touch, kind of across the board. But we will, if you guys are new to the show, there are score boxes in the bottom right-hand corner. If you like what you're hearing from any of the guests, drop a +1 in the chat, and I will know to give them a point. If you don't like what they're saying, you can put a -1, and we'll take a point away. So Ben, I want to start with you real quick on this first subject, on these crazy antics we're seeing out of Washington. We've got statements being made by Bill Foster that if you participate in a crypto transaction, you're de facto participating in a criminal conspiracy. We went over some of the stuff from a couple of different statements being made today, this morning, but I wanted to hear what your opinion is. Do you think our government is equipped in any capacity to set up regulations and to kind of usher us into this digital asset era as we move forward here in the United States specifically?
Yeah, if the government leads us into crypto regulation, we will be doomed. And I've said this for a long time. One of my biggest ideas I've had, that I talked to Texas about, and hopefully going to speak with Alabama here fairly soon about, and then hopefully, some other states down the road. If you guys have contacts in states, when we come speak to your representatives, we'd love to do that about crypto. But one of the ideas I shared with them is not independent, because you're going to have government, representation when it comes to these regulatory bodies. But the government needs to establish basically an exploratory crypto regulation committee that's going to be able to merge people in crypto with people in government and be able to come to some common sense laws that will not stifle innovation. I don't know. This Brad Sherman guy, he's been the worst for many years. Number one, I said it this morning, I said it on a tweet yesterday, his number one donor is a credit card processing company. You cannot make this stuff up. Of course, he's going to come out and speak about crypto. I don't know much about this Bill Foster guy other than he's a douche as well. He probably a lifetime politician, I would assume. which are, you know, in a lot of cases, the worst kinds of people. So the thing is, we've got to create this exploratory committee that will have representation from both sides of the aisle, along with people like, you know, I'm just throwing names out there. I don't know, BitBoy Crypto on there. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. But, you know, in all seriousness, though, like maybe Eric Voorhees, you know, maybe Brian Armstrong, maybe Brian Brooks, maybe some big names in crypto that have some kind of experience or, you know, at least you know, viewpoints on regulation that can be beneficial, because we have to do this together. And you got these people like Bill Foster and Brad Sherman, and what the message they're giving you is they want to stifle innovation. And let me ask you, how has that worked out in the United States over the last 5 to 10 years? Should we be stifling innovation as we lose the world economy, so world economic supremacy to China? You know, basically, I don't want to get into that whole situation, but, you know, do we want to lose that? If we want to lose that, then yeah, let's go ahead and stifle crypto. Let's stifle blockchain. Let's stifle innovation. Nothing that comes out of guys like that, you know, gums, along with also Elizabeth Warren, throw her in there, along with Janet Notel and Yellen, throw her in there as well. Nothing that comes out of their mouths is authentic. It's all coming from an angle, and it's all coming from their backers, people behind them. They're basically puppets, and they do whatever their puppet masters tell them. They have to know that what they're saying is totally idiotic. They have no intellectual honesty.
Yeah, well, that is very true, and that's something consistent we've seen in the past from a lot of these characters. On the other side of that, or maybe not, and it's kind of hard to tell at this point, but Gary Gensler is somebody else who kind of suggested something like you mentioned, a multi-agency task force where it's some private companies represented, some government entities represented. I don't know if he's gone into detail about who he thinks should be on there, or a government task force that works with the private sector there. So I wanted to go to Jebb with this one. We've seen in the past when like Jack Dorsey and Michael Saylor, they've suggested some of these like crypto mining, you know, energy efficient mining councils, and a crypto mining council from like kind of like something Ben was proposing, but it seems very selective with who gets put on it, and they get a lot of heat when they talk about something like that. So what do you think in a scenario like that, like who would be the appropriate people to represent a body like that? And do we need something like that, or is that a really slippery slope back towards where we already are today?
Well, I think it's important to recognize a couple of things to start off with. Number one, we need regulation, and number two, regulation is going to happen whether we want it or not. Let me back those statements up. What I mean by needing regulation is I'm not saying that we need the government to try and control everything. We have learned from history in every single communist and socialist state that has ever existed, and in our modern fiat currency system, that whenever a federal government or a nation state or any kind of central authority attempts to control and maintain an economy, they fail, because economies are designed by the laws of nature to be able to sustain themselves. We don't need people to come in and manage economies. That's not even possible. We are feigning ourselves and tricking ourselves into believing that's possible. So don't get me wrong when I say that we need regulation. I don't mean that we need people trying to control Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but what we do need is we need clarity. We need clarity insofar as how is the market going to be regulated. That's why this is so important, and that's why we're seeing so much news about it lately. Whether or not the federal government regulates Bitcoin in a way that's conducive towards innovation and growth in crypto, or if they move in the direction that China's going and trying to ban everything, that's going to make a big difference in the future of how Bitcoin and cryptocurrency grows. It's very difficult for an entrepreneur to want to go and start a business in a sector where they don't even know if they're going to be legally allowed to do business in that sector a couple of years from then. This is why we need regulation, and the second point is we just can't avoid it. It's going to happen. So the question now is, based on those two factors, how do we get to where we are eventually going to go in a way that is most conducive to that continued innovation for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? And I think these different councils of people very well may be a way to help with that. Gary Gensler talked about building out a multi-departmental task force, including the SEC and the CFTC and the OCC, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. He's talked about that, and like you said, we've seen this idea of the mining council from Elon Musk and Michael Saylor. I think that this is a step in the right direction if it's taken appropriately. I actually had no problem with the mining council that Elon Musk and Saylor were talking about a couple of months ago. A lot of people got very freaked out about that. I didn't think it was that scary, but what I am actually more worried about is this whole hero worship thing going on in crypto right now. It's human nature, unfortunately, over the last few hundred years, to worship people that we consider celebrities, worship people that are on television or on a show like this, and think, oh man, just because they are so wealthy that they must be so smart, and maybe they are, but just because they're celebrities doesn't mean we should blindly follow them. So what I think we need to see happen is we need to see some way of having the government have a pulse on what crypto is and what crypto desires, and figure out how crypto can become integrated with the way that we currently do business in the traditional financial sector, so that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency continue to develop. That is going to require certain people on panels and different regulatory bodies having groups of people. That's not what I'm saying. I just don't want us hero worshiping. We want to see that occur. What I really want to see happen is I want to see the government have a much better grasp of crypto from people that are in the ground, that are on the ground floor, like us. I would love if certain lawmakers would come and talk to people like Ben, or talk to people like me, talk to people like TJ and everyone else on this panel, and some of the people here. You know, we live in a republic in the United States of America, and unfortunately, it seems like what we always see happen is we just get one dude runs off, and then we really don't have a say in that. And that's not really what a republic is supposed to be. You're supposed to have representation, of course, but I think a lot of people's voices aren't really being heard. And that's the problem. We don't see the government understanding crypto. We don't see the government understanding where crypto is going. And also, here's another factor you got to keep in mind. When was the last time the government innovated on anything? The people that innovate are the entrepreneurs or the business owners. They're the developers and the technologists and the scientists. They're all in crypto right now. The government's best thing that it can do is mostly get out of our way, make sure that we deal with this piracy and all this scam, and keep people safe, and then let it grow. Unfortunately, with the way the governments of the world work, that's probably not going to happen because they have a vested interest in protecting their fiat currencies, but time's going to tell on that. I do want to see regulatory clarity, but we need to figure out how that's going to happen.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Nice glasses there, Ben. I don't know.
Yeah, nice, Ben.
I actually don't know whose they are.
He got an upgrade.
I'm going to wear them for the show.
You look smarter. I like it. No, but Jebb, you know, made a ton of really good facts there. I think one of the main things that you said that really resonates is like we need something to happen, but we don't really know what that's going to look like yet. I think it's going to take a couple different iterations. You know, some of these committees and councils are going to be put together, and we're going to have to kind of wait and see what happens. Some may be successful and positive. Some might be negative, and there's also a lot of different approaches that different nations are taking when it comes to regulating Bitcoin. So we've seen here in the United States, they seem to talk about it a lot, but they don't really ever come down with any solid regulation that people can take action on, where in the UK, they've actually passed a little bit more regulation. So I wanted to hear from Spencer on your perspective on how they're handling this same topic in a different nation, you know, that might have some different viewpoints. What is your perspective of the leaders over there and how they're handling crypto or digital assets and how they plan to handle them going forward?
Well, UK and US, obviously, we follow similar ideas in life, don't we? You know, we've got a similar set of values. You know, your currency and our currency are intrinsically linked. I think the Bank of England actually came over and it was one of the founding partners of the Federal Reserve. So they are, we have similar ideas. And to be honest, I don't see that much happening in the government with regards to crypto over here. I just don't see it. And the reason why I don't think it happens here in the US so much is, and why we've got a state of kind of no clarity, is because there's no real urgent need for them to do it at the moment. If you look at all the smaller countries that are being kind of controlled and dominated by the USD, they have a requirement to break free of those sanctions or start their own national currency. Or, for instance, El Salvador doesn't even have its own one, so it's now going to adopt BTC. They've got that requirement to kind of fight and survive. That's why they need to get cryptocurrency into their country. And people do things for two reasons: for the fear of loss or the opportunity of gain. And in both cases, that's true for those countries. Whereas in the US and the UK, the economy and the setup is fat. The government is fat. You know, it's got so many different layers. We have the same thing here. You know, you want to get something done, it doesn't matter if it's a good idea or not a good idea. You know, our democracy is set up in a way that the opposition just appeases or opposes every single thing that you propose anyway. So it takes 10 times as long to do anything. I kind of think that we're lucky in the sense that China hasn't come out and full on adopted Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, you know, as standard, because if they had, you know, they would be leading the way big time Like, I mean, huge. I mean, they were so far ahead when you look at the mining and BTC mining, 67% of hash power is in China, and they've had to ban it, and you've probably lost half the hash power, which is a good thing. But if they hadn't banned it, how much would be there now? And if they really adopted it properly, they would be leading the way. I mean, they're heavy on blockchain, so they support blockchain. I don't know what that really means, because cryptocurrency is kind of banned. You're not allowed to do it with any banks. So it's a bit worrying. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, it's inevitable. It's just going to be a lot of teething problems.
Yeah, a lot of teething. That's a good way to put it. So, Justin, I wanted to ask you, because we kind of talked a lot here about regulation, and we know there's a lot of things we don't like about regulation, but at the same time, we're talking on the show all the time about getting parents, grandparents, young people, anybody we know into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So if we really want to see that happen and see everybody in the world have access to it, everybody holding it, there probably does need to be some sort of protections in place. Everybody doesn't want to take full responsibility onto themselves all the time. So in your perspective, what kind of regulations would you view as positive, or like what kind of regulations do we want to see that would be helpful for the space to grow?
So, I mean, I think obviously, like, no one likes a scam unless you're the one scamming people. No one likes a rug pull unless you're the guy that's, rug pulling people, and no one likes being hacked. I mean, I've been a victim of being hacked and scammed, and when it comes to crypto, and so like I think cutting that out is a huge space for regulation. Like, that would be great, but unfortunately, that's not what's going to happen when regulation comes in. What you're going to see is the government, you're going to see the lobbyists, you're going to see the institutions and the banks and all the people that cryptocurrency has created to fight against, to funnel the wealth back to people like us. You're going to see them step in, and they're going to create this regulation that's going to it's going to funnel all the money back over to them, and so I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how the government can move in and cut those negative aspects of crypto out, but I know that's not what they're going to do. They're going to come in and they're going to set like traditional finance where the people that profit from the regulation are the people that the hedge funds and the Robin Hoods and all the stock people. So I don't know what it looks like, but it definitely needs to come in. It's inevitable. I agree with Jebb. It's coming. I don't think it's going to be pretty.
Yeah.
I just wanted to step in there, TJ, because I thought you asked about what could be a good sort of regulation to start. And I think the key here is actually in that article you sent over to me. He wanted to set up, I don't know if you're going to talk about that later, where he's talking about trying to regulate payments so you could claw them back. But something really resonated with me, which you wrote in there, which was, if you've got crypto on your phone and you're using like Exodus wallet on your iPhone or whatever, and you get mugged in the street, someone comes up to you, someone knows that you've got Bitcoin, and it's, people are getting more advanced. They understand, they can see you on YouTube, whatever, they could target you, right? And they come up to you and they just put a hammer to your face and say, right, give me the Bitcoin you've got in your wallet. Of course, you're going to have to give it to them because it's available on your phone. There's nothing you can do about it. And once that Bitcoin's gone, it's gone. There's no way to come back from that. You're not going to get that back. So I think a good start for regulation is for banks to start holding Bitcoin on behalf of people, giving people access to Bitcoin within their banking industry, so they can use their banks as kind of like an intermediary for the Bitcoin. I know it kind of like defeats the idea of Bitcoin, but it's going to help more adoption, in my opinion.
Spencer, can I jump in on that real quick?
Absolutely, yeah. Anybody can jump in.
Spencer, I think you're absolutely right. And the funny thing is, that's a very unpopular opinion, but I think it's totally accurate. And I also think that that's the first place that we need to see this occurring. Nobody wants to have $10 million worth of cryptocurrency in a floor safe in their house. And that's kind of where we are right now. Banks were created in the first place for the purposes of individual custody and safety. I just want to say to anybody who's going to attack that thought, that is not at all us abandoning Bitcoin's core tenets of decentralization and limited supply. That is actually us embracing the fact that we're going to have to provide tools and financial instruments for people to want to adopt it widely. I hold my cryptocurrency personally, but a lot of people aren't going to want to do that. I think it's really important.
Yeah, no.
Well, I think a lot of people actually put their Bitcoin into kind of like places like Nexo or Celsius, and that's that's even worse than having it on a bank, because they're just private individual companies and they're unsecured loans. If they go broke, you've lost your Bitcoin. Okay. In the UK, we have protection with a bank. So if you put, I think it's up to £75,000 of cash in an account. If that bank goes bust, you're protected by the government. You will get that £75,000 back. They need something similar like that with official banks that are regulated by the government and protected with insurances so you can store your Bitcoin there. And furthermore, I believe in the future you're going to be able to use your Bitcoin as collateral to buy houses. That's what I believe is going to happen. Yep. So it just feels like a natural step for me.
Yeah, no, it does.
All right, boys, I'm about to take my glasses off.
All right.
It's time to
man.
fight.
Here we go.
I'm about to
He's
fight
coming in
all
hot.
of you.
All right, well, if you got real quick, if you guys want to see a fight, smash the likes. We got about 5,000 people in here. There's no way we can't get to 2,500.
We're about to fight, apparently.
Smash the likes.
Ding, 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 fight.
Smash likes.
I have a huge problem. I have a huge problem with what you guys said there.
Okay.
Yes. On one hand, yeah, sure. That's what lazy people want. Lazy people want someone to take care of their money and take care of their crypto for them. And I know that because I talk to people on the street and they tell me, I would just rather have my banker take care of it. I like stocks because my broker is the one that does the work. Lazy, lazy poor people, okay? But listen, here's the thing.
Okay.
What if this happens? Here's the problem. And I do trust Celsius 100%. I would much rather trust Celsius with my money than a bank, to be honest with you. Look, Coinbase is FDIC insured, so, some of these people can get some FDIC protection. But at the end of the day, I don't want these banks having this money. Why? Because the whole reason that we created Bitcoin, and I say we because I obviously was involved in the creation of Bitcoin. The whole reason that we created Bitcoin.
Well, I saw the TikTok.
You saw the TikTok.
If you saw on TikTok,
outed me and Satoshi. It's 100%.
Ben Toshi.
Yeah.
Ben Toshi. But here's the thing, okay? If the whole reason Bitcoin was created, it was for us to take back control of our own money, of our own finance. Bitcoin ultimately is not going to be the thing I think we're going to be able to do that with. I think it's going to be DeFi. But that doesn't put to bed the idea that that's what we need. We have to take control back. If we allow the banks to do Bitcoin trading and Bitcoin custody for us, they're going to do the same thing they're already doing right now with our money and screwing people over left and right. They give you 0.01% interest. They take your money out of the bank. They do a Ponzi scheme where they move it and let somebody else have it. And then what happens? They're getting 20% on your money that you're getting 0.01% and you're getting screwed, okay? And what happens? It becomes a Ponzi scheme. It becomes a bunch of derivatives where they're telling you, even though it's on the blockchain, we can't see their side of the blockchain. You can't see Robinhood's blockchain. You can't see what they own and what they're doing, okay? So these banks, what they're going to do is they're going to tell you, yeah, you've got 10 Bitcoin locked away. They're going to take your Bitcoin, and then they're going to loan it out to somebody else at a high interest rate, and we're going to start the whole Ponzi scheme over again. And I'm not going to stand for that, so I can't possibly be okay with banks
that's
doing
exactly what Nexo does. That's exactly what Nexo does.
That's exactly how.
They lend out your Bitcoin. That's how.
What do you think the banks
also.
are going to do? What do you
they're
think the
both
banks
doing
are going to
fractional reserve
do?
lending.
Well, okay. What's the
They're gonna
difference
do the same
between
thing.
what's the difference between Coinbase and a bank? I mean, Coinbase will become a bank at some point. It will be. So just because its name's changed,
then use a decentralized wallet.
There you go.
Yeah, I totally agree with a lot of what you just said there, Ben. But I don't agree that Celsius is any better than a bank, because I think they will naturally become one. That's what they are. They're just in a different sense of the word.
See, the thing that I think is important to remember here also is that, yes, Bitcoin was created to take on the traditional financial system because it is an absolute backward system that screws over the little guy like you and me. But the thing about Bitcoin is that no matter where the Bitcoin is, it still has a limited supply unless you start having derivatives built on banks. I get that. I understand that. But there's still going to be plenty of Bitcoin in circulation that the limited supply can drive the price up and stop us from building this inflationary economy that we live in right now. You guys, everybody at home, in case you ever want to evangelize Bitcoin to someone, here's how you do it. Tell them Bitcoin is valuable. because it has a limited supply and is able to store value into the future, and its decentralized nature protects it. That's how you evangelize Bitcoin, because the fiat currencies that we operate with right now, like the United States dollar, have lost 98% of their value in the last 100 years because of that traditional banking sector. I am in no way, shape, or form supporting the banks or how they operate, just to be clear. But I think it is inevitable that this is going to occur. I think you might agree with me on that, Ben. But what I also want people to remember is that, yes, it is lazy to want other people to manage your money for you. 95% of people are going to operate that way. I'm sorry, Ben, but you know, people might be lazy.
Well,
okay, well,
we got
okay,
celebrity
so if the
death
banks
match
aren't
going
going to be
on.
doing
Organize
it, if the banks aren't going to be helping the lazy people, if the banks aren't going to be helping those people manage their money, then I ask you, what is the alternative where we're not going to see the same thing occur? It's going to come from DeFi, I understand, but what is in existence right now?
Okay, so look, I mean, we're not there to where we know for 100% what it's going to be. And if I had that, then I would be the rich person doing it, okay? But here's what I want to point out when it comes to comparing banks versus comparing these other platforms, okay? With Celsius or Nexo or BlockFi, you are volunteering to give them your money for a return, okay? With the banks, we are, trust me, I got my bank accounts taken, okay? You have to have a bank account in life, pretty much. So luckily, like, because we got business money and, you know, TJ's here, we were able to get some accounts straightened out fairly quickly. But the banks will just take your accounts. You have to have them, though. So you're caught in this catch-22 of, we don't want to use the banks, but we have to. They're forcing you to put your money in there so they can loan it out to do their Ponzi scheme. With Celsius or Nexo or BlockFi, you are volunteering to give them your money and risk. Look, there is some risk involved. I don't think Celsius is very risky. It's backed by BitGo. I mean, I think it's good. But what I'll say is you're getting 6% compared to 0.01%. That's 60 times. No, is that, that's 60 times your money. Is that correct? No, it's 0.01%. That's 600 times your money to take that risk. So that's the future. Decentralized finance, us being able to volunteer to lend ourselves out, lend our money out in order to get a return. Not only are we our own banks, but we are also our own businesses in that regard.
So and to be clear, Ben,
let me ask you a question.
To be clear, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Ben. If the banks were to say, right, okay, because market forces drive these prices. That's why you've got slightly higher risk when you're putting your money with Celsius or Nexo. That's why they've got the higher percentage. If there was a lower risk attached, they would lower that percentage. And I think over time, as the risk lowers, those percentages will go down. They're not. I don't think they're sustainable long term, because of the way the markets can operate.
You still have the option.
Yeah, but let's say the banks come along and say, okay, well, what we'll do is we're going to raise it to 4%, but we're going to absolutely guarantee by government decree that your Bitcoin in here, if it ever gets lost.
Well,
this is what we're saying needs to happen, isn't it? This is what we're saying.
Yeah, well, I think that's the common thread here is what we probably all are, is for a free market, and I think a free, like kind of Ben's biggest point was they don't give you a choice. And now we actually have a choice at this point with things like Celsius, with products that are being created in DeFi, BlockFi.
Yeah, okay, I agree on that. Yeah.
And then those products will then force free market competition. And we are seeing, we covered a story today. There's these banks in Germany, millions of them that are going to be offering Bitcoin custody services. We've got stuff here through NYDIG in the U.S. where banks
special funds.
Yeah, they're going to be set up to be custodying Bitcoin, and I think it will be a natural progression where we'll see banks holding it, offer a return, and they will have to start either ratcheting their returns up or Celsius. There will be an equilibrium that's met at some point. So.
USA will be the last place to do it.
The problem's not just the return, though. The problem is they have control. Like, I've been in the situation where they've cut my credit cards or they've cut my debit card, or I know Ben's talked about he's been in the situation where they've completely locked his account. So if you start giving banks control of your finances and of your Bitcoin, they're going to do the same thing that they always have done, And so I think like the regulation that's going to end up, it's not going to be regulation. It's an education process more than anything. I think as people get older, people are moving more towards being their own bank. That's just that's the evolution of how things are moving to. You got DeFi, now everybody can, you don't necessarily need a brick and mortar bank anymore to even do any kind of banking. So blockchain and crypto, it's gonna be your kids are gonna know that, just like you've understood banking, as you were growing up. It's going to be
Totally agree on
a
that.
thing that they're just going to do. It's going to be an everyday thing.
And to be clear, I completely agree with everything y'all are saying. My point was just that because the original question was, how are we going? Where do countries need to look to regulate first? My point was not that I like the banking sector. I just want to clear that up. I'm against the banking sector.
I can't believe you remember the question. I can't believe you remember the question after I knocked you out.
Oh, come on, Ben. I got challenged to mud fight you like 6 months. You know what? I challenged your whole team to a airsoft battle, or a paintball battle, and you never got back to me on that, so I guess you don't want to fight, huh?
We should play some paintball. That would be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This episode is absolute
that got left
fire,
in your
isn't it?
hands.
Yeah.
Well,
It's all over.
TJ is completely overrun.
No, it's fun. I like it, man. I told you guys to jump in, and you guys really ran with it.
While it's chaos, I want to know what TJ bought if he didn't buy a Supra.
Oh, I bought a GTR. Oh yeah, they're giving me a hard time. That was That was a pretty harsh name, guys. I like the GTR. Somebody in the chat said should have got a Skyline, but and I did. I looked into getting the Skyline. It just was going to take too long, and so the GTR was here. So I did get a GTR. Love the GTR, but
should have bought a Supra.
Now it says 2J should have bought a Supra. So BJ's
2J.
BJ's having a hard time over there. Yeah.
2J.
But let's actually jump. We're going to jump to the last topic here. You guys did kind of, as chaotic as that conversation was, you were kind of actually bringing us around to Ethereum and DeFi, which we saw absolutely exploding just a couple months ago. We saw Ethereum hit a price of 4,500 as its all-time high. We looked at an article today with talking about it reaching a market cap of $2 trillion, which would be almost double where Bitcoin was at its peak. So a $1 trillion market cap would be an $8,500 Ethereum. But let's just switch gears. We talked a lot about fundamentals and adoption and all these different things that are happening on a big macro level, but on a micro level, price-wise, like, when are we going to get back to all-time highs for Ethereum, in your opinion, Ben?
Are we not there right now? Tomorrow? Well, can we get there tomorrow?
That would be nice.
That would be nice.
I think we'd all.
We're going there tomorrow. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Look, here's what I think is going to happen. Look, it's a very limited time, in my opinion, between now and the end of the bull market. I still believe we are in a bull market. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but we are still on the timeline that we, put out on this channel over a year ago. And we're still, according to that timeline, as long as we're following, 2013, 2014 scenario, I think that we are. So if you look at Bitcoin topping out at the end of September, and you say, okay, it's got to get from $33,500, upwards of 100 to 200 to 300K, somewhere in that range. Well, we're already in July. And around the middle of this month is when I'm being told by my sources that the manipulation is going to swing the other way. So we'll see what happens. But if that's the case, that means towards the end of this month, we've got to be heading back up in the high 40s, getting back up to 50. And that leaves us with basically 2 full months, August and September, to see Bitcoin go parabolic, okay, according to what I believe is going to happen. So if that's the case, you got to think by the middle of August, Bitcoin has got to be at all-time highs. And if you think Ethereum's going to follow it, I would say Ethereum should be back over, 4,500 sometime in that same range around the middle of August. Maybe it might actually get there a little faster because of EIP 1559. So I'm looking at sometime in the next 6 weeks, seeing Ethereum get back to an all-time high, and it's going to blow past $4,400.
Yeah, so when it happens, you think it'll happen fast whenever it is? Most likely, yeah.
Of course, it's not going to be, in my opinion, I don't think we're on some kind of long tracking 10-year news cycle of Bitcoin like a lot of people think.
Right. So, Spencer, when we're talking about DeFi, almost always the next mention is Ethereum. We're always talking about DeFi and Ethereum, DeFi and Ethereum. So in your opinion, will all DeFi be built on Ethereum, or do some of these other platforms have a chance, or is it just going to be, there's just too much of a head start for Ethereum, in your opinion?
Well, you've got first mover advantage in tech is not always the case, is it? You only have to look at the example of MySpace and Facebook. So I'm divided on the opinion. I think, I don't know what the exact number is. Has anyone got the number of exactly what percentage of DeFi is locked on Ethereum compared to the other contenders? Has anyone got that number?
I don't have it right in front of me, but we could.
That would be an interesting number to know. Obviously,
the number is like $65 billion, I believe.
Yeah, I know but I don't.
It's got a significant amount.
Percentage-wise, yeah.
65 billion. 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 And I mean, I have a lot of Ethereum, and that's the biggest part of my portfolio because I think it's just such a great platform and network. I think that it's going to happen as soon as ETH 2.0 comes out. It's just waiting. The only reason the other coins are there is because it's so slow and it's so expensive to do those transactions. When that problem is solved, what's the point of the other platforms?
Yeah, no,
I just hope they do it soon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the key is the timing. So the transaction use has been at an all-time high. I think they said 1.5 trillion in the last few months or the first quarter, which is more than the previous 7 quarters of transactions on Ethereum. So we did see when the transactions were peaking at the all-time high, gas fees got astronomical. Now they're very, very low. So if they can really fix everything when that volume comes back in, we could see, like you said, what's the point of those other platforms. But Justin, I wanted to ask you this. I know you're also a fan of Cardano, and like Spencer said, first mover advantage isn't everything. We saw MySpace, we've seen in tech before, certain companies come out, they get a lot of market share really fast, but then something comes out that's just a slightly better tech, that's more adaptable, more upgradable, and it just steals the entire market share. So in your opinion, do you think Cardano will take and eventually surpass ETH in market share?
So I hope you're being sarcastic because I do not like Cardano. It's not a coin that I like. Because I was around in 2017 and 18, and I've heard all these same things coming out of Charles's mouth, and it's just a bunch of wishes and dreams and things like that. So I'm a big Ethereum guy. That's where I'm at. I agree with Spencer. So I think it's good to be fashionably late, but there is a point where you miss the party altogether. And I think Cardano is kind of dancing with that timeline there. And if they don't come out with something significant, like I know, like it'll solve all these problems and the transactions will be great, but I heard it all before. And what was he doing during the last bear market? Like, what was he doing? Like, I mean, it's crazy. So no, I don't think Cardano. I think the first mover Ethereum is going to take over. I think cities will be running on Ethereum, whether it's paying your taxes, accounting, retail transactions, everything. I think eventually, as soon as ETH 2.0 comes out, that's where the future is. You'll see entire cities, towns, and states running on Ethereum.
Yeah, well, and we know the future is bright for Bitcoin. It sounds like every day it's getting brighter and brighter for Ethereum. So, Jebb, I wanted to ask you about some other altcoins. Like, in your opinion, do you think we just continue to see those first movers separate themselves more and more? And, we have some flash in the pan projects, but they disappear. Or, do we have a consistent 10 maybe that stay over time? Or do you see hundreds of products or, maybe something we've never even heard of yet rising up and being that major project?
So for the longest time, we've been calling this the cryptocurrency industry. I've started calling it the cryptocurrency sector because I think we're starting to see different industries emerge in cryptocurrency, like actual cryptocurrencies and crypto platforms being the two biggest ones. The major cryptocurrency being Bitcoin, the major crypto platform or protocol or decentralized application builder, if you will. Ethereum is worth $250 billion right now. What I think we're going to see happen is, so let me back up. Ethereum has a massive first mover advantage, and I think it's important for people to realize that. Ethereum is worth over 5 times more than Cardano right now. The gap between Ethereum and Cardano is much larger than the gap between Bitcoin and Ethereum is percentage-wise. That's important to keep in mind. Ethereum has a massive, massive advantage. It has a lot more development going on behind the scenes than Cardano does, and it has a bigger platform. And like Justin was talking about, and like Ben thought I didn't know earlier, I guess, DeFi is a massive, massive deal and is going to have a huge impact on the way that we do business. And I guess that he forgot that I knew that. Anyway, we're joking. Anyway, Ben, I really, we've got to play paintball. You left me hanging on that. You left me hanging on that. I'm only 8 hours away.
I don't know where the logjam got up. I told my people to organize, and it didn't get organized. So
they didn't do it. Well, we'll figure it out. That's okay.
I got new people around here, so we're gonna
plug him on Twitter for everybody watching. I challenged him to it a couple months ago. Anyway, what we were talking about is Ethereum. Ethereum and the decentralized platform industry that we're seeing evolve in cryptocurrency is. I don't think we're just going to see Ethereum. I think we are going to see competitors like Cardano, like Solana. But an important thing to remember here. There's only one real video sharing platform, YouTube. There is Twitch for streaming, but have you ever noticed how YouTube is a massive monopoly that nobody can touch? And that's not really because of regulation. That's not really because of anything other than the fact that some things that act like utilities tend to be monopolies. Now, what you see happen in the chip set, in the cards industry, such as Intel, NVIDIA, AMD, all these different cards, you see maybe 2, 3, 4 major power players, different sharks saying, okay, I'll take a bite over here, you take a bite over here, we'll just share. YouTube, on the other hand, it's interesting. It's a monopoly that the market helps to support on its own. In economy, sometimes when you have a platform that acts as a utility, a lot of times it tends to be a monopoly because it's just hard to use multiple different ones. There is a very strong argument to be made in cryptocurrency that Ethereum is going to be that one power player that takes away all the market dominance from Solana and Cardano and the other competitors, just because everybody's going to gravitate towards the big dog, because you can't really move decentralized finance products and DeFi products from one platform to another very easily. That is the argument on the side of Ethereum taking up 90% of that emerging sector. However, I don't know that that's entirely the case. I think Cardano and Solana are also doing things slightly differently than what Ethereum is doing and have slightly different end users. Ethereum is not really intrinsic to Ethereum attempting to tackle the decentralized identification issue that we're seeing going on in Africa and plaguing 2 billion people around the world like Cardano is. But Cardano is doing that. Solana is working in other directions. I think what we need to remember here is that these cryptocurrencies are acting very similarly to companies. And the company that succeeds is the company, generally speaking, that is best able to deliver value to its customers. It really is that simple. Ethereum is able to deliver a lot of value to its customers, especially if Ethereum 2.0 launches. The only way that Cardano and Solana are ever going to be able to knock Ethereum off of the hill is if they move extremely quickly in the next year while Ethereum is attempting to get ETH 2.0 online. If they don't manage to do it in the next year, the gap closes and it becomes much harder. And I see that scenario where Ethereum has 90% of the market share of the decentralized platforms. If not, it is very possible that Cardano and Solana could be serious contenders.
Yeah, no, that was good, and they were really loving that in the chat. A lot of love for Jebb in the chat today, and all of this. They definitely want to see a paintball match, and we have about 7,000 people watching right now, guys. So if you please could smash that like. There's no reason we can't get above 2,500. We're right at 2,000 right now. But that's all we have time for today. Looks like Jebb does have the most points. He's got 30 seconds to leave his parting thoughts. Ben, you know, I know you're salty, but you'll have another chance, and we will get down there and
it's
make
not
that
me, it's Tommy. It's Tommy. Yeah, it's not me.
You can try again on the paintball match.
Yeah, we'll definitely make that happen. So, and thanks to everybody on Twitch as well. I mean, we've got about 30 of you guys over there, so I know that's a lot less, but hey, man, we love you guys. If you could give us a follow or a like or whatever it is over there, we'd appreciate it, and we're going to have a lot more fun Twitch stuff coming soon. So, Jebb, 30 seconds, take it away.
Look, guys, there's one thing I want you to take away from this stream, and this is something that every single person on this panel is going to completely agree with. You guys have to continue investing in yourself. I learned from a very young age, 4 years ago, you know, back when I was very young. No, wasn't that long ago. Anyway, what I learned was that the best investment that you can ever make is an investment in yourself. Whenever you are investing in your future by working on your body or your health or on your mind or on your education or your wisdom or your experience, you are going to see the biggest returns. Don't think that an altcoin is going to make you rich. Don't think that DeFi is going to make you rich. You and the decisions that you make are going to make you rich. So continue investing in yourself every single day. 1% a day adds up quite a bit over the course of a year. Don't ever stop investing in yourself. I believe in you guys.
Great parting message, and lot of love for Bitcoin and Ethereum in the chat today. But a lot of people agree with our panelists. Not a lot of love for ADA or Cardano. So where are our Cardano people at? If you guys are Cardano,
interesting.
Yeah, just you know, drop a comment below or give us hashtag ADA gang, and we'll see who's in here, because we usually have a lot of Cardano fans here. But that's all we have time for today. We might get into some more of that kind of stuff tomorrow. We'll be back 5 p.m. Eastern time. We're out.